Hello, hello. And we have a new name for the Color Whisperer show today. It's Designing a Healed Life. So I'd love your feedback on that. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to try it for a few weeks and we may go back to the other title. We'll see. Anyway, what is a healed life? So it's about home and heart and body and mind and all of them being in sync because they all reflect each other. I've been doing a lot of organizing lately, and that's one way that it really does show. And here's the thing is that it's about trauma, usually. When, there's like hoarding, it's really not that people are lazy. Oh, why is that going off? Okay, bear with me. Let me turn this thing off. Thought I had. And it's off. Maybe not. Don't you love live? There we go. Now it won't be bothering us anymore. So the thing with clutter is it's emotionally heavy. And that's why it's helpful to get somebody else to come in and help you with it. Because for you, well, let me rephrase that. So for the person who comes in and helps, there's no attachment. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a piece of paper. It's just another catch-all. It's just another picture. They're able to look at it from a different perspective than when you look at it. So years ago, I had a client who was 84 and she downsized from a house that was like 5,000 square feet to about 2,000 square feet. And she had a big yard sale and estate sale and all the things you're supposed to do, right? But there's still way too much stuff in this house. And so the only way I could get to do design work was I had to help her go through the boxes because she's 84. She physically doesn't have the strength to do it. Emotionally, she didn't have the strength to do it. And kind of made it fun for her. So, like I'm going through things. I'm like, hey, Jackie, this is pretty cool. Tell me the story about this. And she'd start talking and I'd hold on to something. I'd find something else interesting. I'm like, Jackie, tell me the story about this. And I really did. And then I found a receipt for aspirin that was older than me. And I'm like, Jackie, we don't need this no more. Now, to Jackie, that stupid receipt for aspirin that was older than me, the bottle's long gone. But that's a memory for her. Maybe she was having migraines at the time. Maybe her mother-in-law was over a lot and she was getting headaches. Actually, she liked her mother-in-law, so I know that wasn't the case. I'm kind of putting myself in there. But there was something going on in life that was giving her headaches. And just seeing that receipt triggers, that's when I was doing this. I never get headaches, but when I was getting ready to get divorced, oh my God, I had the most massive headaches ever. It was miserable. So if I were going through that, it was my paperwork, I'd look at that receipt for aspirin and go, oh, that was a really bad time in my life. That was a time when I really couldn't function because the headaches were so bad. And I didn't know why at the time. I mean, I do now, but at the time it was happening, I didn't know. And so, the year I had my miscarriage, I was so upset. I got a new bookkeeper in like October. And she comes at me and she says, we have to start all over at the beginning of the year. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's October. This is ridiculous. All right, fine. So we started all the way over at October. I'd had my miscarriage in February. And as we were going through the business, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I bought that. That was right after. Oh yeah. Like the bills held so much emotion in them because I was filled with so much emotion, and it just like every single check, every single bill brought back this wave of emotion. By the time we were done, I was devastated. And it wasn't just one day, it was several days she had to take to do all this stuff. And anyway, long story short, she didn't last very long. But paperwork can hold emotions. And so I'm helping a client go through some stuff. And one client, she found some paperwork from a time she was really sick. And, she said, I said, do you want help going through it? She said, no, I can do this. I'm like, okay. And she did. I was really proud of her. But, it can even be like a favorite article of clothing. Oh, I bought this for a wedding. Oh, I bought this for the speech I gave. Oh, I bought this for a funeral. Maybe you had to give what's the right word? Soliloquy is what just came into my head, and that's not right. The eulogy. There we go. Maybe you had to give the eulogy. And it was somebody that, you really cared about. And you bought that outfit to do the eulogy. And that brings back a flood of emotions about that person, about how much you miss them. Because they're not just things. There's a lot wrapped up in those things. So it's really important to have some. In fact, I had dinner last night with a friend of mine who's an organizer. And she says, Jeanette, can you come over and help me? Now, it's not because she doesn't know how to do it. And I've had times when I've hired somebody, like after my dad died and I got all this stuff in my house, I had to hire somebody to help me. And it's not because I don't know how to do it. And it's not because I can't do it. I can. I do know how. But the emotional weight of all that stuff is way too much. This lady last night, she's like, Jeanette, I know how to do this, but I need different eyes. They were melding 3 houses. She had 2 houses and her boyfriend had a house, and they were melding them all in one house, and they got too much stuff. And she's like, I don't know what to keep and what not to keep. She's got some favorite furniture. He's got some favorite furniture. They don't really go together. But what do you do? How do you decide what stays, what goes? And for her, she sees her grandmother around the table. She feels a connection to that. He sees a special job he got when he bought a chair that he'd been wanting for a long time. There's memories. And it's hard. It's hard. I have a dear friend. And during COVID, we all had trauma. Everybody got trauma during COVID, one way or another. And I just had this pile of stuff that kept getting bigger. It was about, that high. Now, none of it was work that had to be done directly. So that was cool. And it was notes I took from a seminar here or a seminar there. And what do you do with it? Like, you file it, right? And I'm going to go back and take a look at these notes. Well, the truth is, we don't. Maybe you do. But sometimes the notes are so messy, you don't know what it says anyway, right? Pardon me. So yeah, it's heavy. And having somebody else look at that stuff and say, you know what? That piece is really just too big. That piece just doesn't go. Here's some paper. Oh, I was telling you. So I had this pile of paper about yay big. I was complaining to my friend about it. She's like, I'll come over and help you. I'm like, you would do that for me? And she's like, absolutely. Now, for her, she was going to come over and, we were going to do this and then hang out for a little bit. And, she just it didn't have any weight for her. But for me, that pile of paper like that, man, that felt like 1,000 pounds to me. It was just too heavy for me to bear. So we sat through it, and just having her here, it was so much easier to have her sit beside me. And she didn't even say, you have to throw that away. We just said, okay, this is healing stuff. This is design stuff. And we'll put the different seminars together. We put them in different categories. This is that. Put them all in folders so that nice and organized. And they got stuck in a drawer. Probably haven't been looked at since, truth be told. But I couldn't do it by myself because that paper was too heavy. So when you see somebody who's struggling like that, I watch the Hoarders show sometimes. And each and every time, there's an event that triggers this. I'm sorry, my camera is not straight. I don't know why. That's a little better. Anyway. I'm talking about hoarding. See, when you go off on tangents, I don't always have everything all written out. So anyway, so when you're going through all this stuff, I was watching the Hoarders programs, and each and every time they lost their husband, they lost a parent, they lost a child. Something big, traumatic in their life happened that they felt they needed to hold on to stuff. And then it gets to be so big that they can't let it go. And when you start holding on to trash, that's another story. And there's an element there of neglect, I think. I have a friend who their mother was older and was struggling with UTIs. And she got really bad, and he went up to visit her. And she chose to move far away, so that was her choice. But it made it difficult for him to go check on her. And she really kind of didn't want that. That wasn't who she was. She didn't want to be checked on. She just, I can do it by myself. But as she got really sick, he went up there and he walked in her house, and it was just beyond terrible. It was beyond terrible. And she had a boyfriend that would come over every so they were, I don't know what they were. They had a weird relationship. But anyway, guy came over and visited on a somewhat regular basis, and he was a janitor, for crying out loud. And there was trash, a lot of trash. It was ugly. And I'm thinking to myself, why did he let it get that bad? She was sick. She didn't care. She had depression. She had a UTI. If you've ever had a really bad UTI, you really don't care about anything. You don't. It's part of the depression. It packs on. And I'm just like, man, I would want to go over there more often. I would want to, he's a janitor, for crying out loud. I'd bring some of my guys over and say, here, fix this. So there is an element of neglect. Some of these kids, they're like, oh, we had no idea it was this bad. How come you didn't visit your mom? And that's part of their problem. If she had lived closer to this guy, he would have gone over there, and it wouldn't have gotten so bad, or he would have paid for somebody to go in there and clean. He did end up paying for somebody to go in there and clean. But we got to look at our people going through depression, going through these it's not just, oh, I can't throw anything away. There's so much more to look at. It's health issues, it's depression issues, it's grief, that they're paralyzed and they don't know how to get out of it. Some of these people, it's like you see them on Hoarders and it's like, oh my God, they can't even walk in their house. How do you do that? And it's like, for me, technically I'm obese. According to the medical industry, I'm obese. Not by much, but I am. Now, for me personally, this is my max where I'm at. Like I'm like, okay, it's time to go. I hit a certain weight and it's like, okay, I can't deal with the fact that I weigh this much. And then I'll start working out more and working on losing it. And we had a dear friend of the family, and he loved his food. Oh, how much he loved his food. And he was a great cook. But he got to a point where he couldn't bend over and put his shoes on. He had to wear slip-on shoes because he couldn't bend over and tie them. And I'm just like, there's a point break. We all have our point break. That wasn't his. It would be for me, and the hoarding too. It's like when you've got trash piled up and critters running around, like, that's a point break. So, but at that point too, you can't, like, there's so much stuff there. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? And it takes everything in them to throw away that one cup. That takes all of their energy, and they didn't even make a dent. So having somebody go in and help them is necessary because they really physically, emotionally can't do it. So I've been doing a lot of this level of work. There's no rats, there's no trash in these homes that I'm working on, but there's too much stuff. And there's a lot of reasons there's too much stuff. And they really are struggling. And one of them even said to me recently, she's like, I know this is hurting my health. I know this is affecting how I'm thinking. I'm not thinking straight. And I know it's because my house is a mess. So I said, cool. When do you want me to come over again? Oh, no. I can do this by myself. But you can't. So, and another client, we're doing this. And I found somebody gave her an free organizing, 4 hours, free organizing. And I said, why didn't you use this? She said, 4 hours is just a dent in what has to happen here. It's not going to be enough. And I'm afraid for them to see my house. And I said, well, yeah, but it's something, And she said, Jeanette, I'd much rather work with you because you don't judge. And I don't judge. Our home is a reflection of what's going on in our head. So when I see this mess, I just see somebody that is struggling with something. And, my job at that point is to help create more space and we just start with one room. How can we what's the quickest room to get done? Because here's the cool thing. When you're at that space, once you start, once you start, it almost gets cathartic. It gets addictive. And, you clear off the table. That's usually not too bad, right? Well, once you clear off the table, now, I might actually be able to sit down at the dining room table. How cool would that be? Oh, there's stuff on the chairs. Okay, I'll just do one chair. That wasn't so bad. Let's do another chair. Maybe that one puts you over. Okay. So the next day you might start on the chairs. I'm like, oh, wow, I have a dining room table. I could actually invite people for dinner. But, there's a lot of stuff on the buffet. Okay. I can just do the buffet today. And when you're doing organizing like that, you've got to start like, okay, what can you handle today? Can you handle doing the whole table? Can you handle doing just one drawer? Whatever it is you can handle doing, just start small, even if it's just one drawer, because it will build momentum. It will keep things going. And the next drawer gets easier. And the drawer after that gets easier. And next thing you know, you're on the second room. But it does affect your thinking. How many times you've heard somebody, oh, my house is such a mess, I can't think straight. It makes it harder to make decisions. It makes it much harder to make decisions. If everywhere you're around, if you walk into your living room and there's 20 newspapers on the floor. Well, I didn't get to finish that one. I only read 2 sections of that one. There's a section of that one I want to go back to. It's the news. There's going to be more tomorrow. Right? There's always something new happening. And, but for some people, that's their be-all, end-all is I want to read the newspaper from cover to cover. That's their world. So if they got behind, they're 2 weeks behind, 3 weeks behind. So now what happens? So now you've got a bunch of newspapers. Now it looks daunting. Oh my God. How many newspapers? How many pages in a newspaper? Let's say 50. Easily there's 50, probably more. It's been a long time since I saw a real newspaper. But I would say even, the Sunday ones, those are more. But the daily ones, they're easily 50 pages each. So now you've got 10 of them on the floor. Now you've got 500 pages to go through. Yikes. What do I do? Oh my God, that's 500 pages I got to look through. You catch your breath. It's overwhelming. Where do I start? Well, the simple answer is you pick up a newspaper. And there's probably sections of the newspaper that you don't need to read. Probably not reading the want ads. There's no more movie section. She doesn't usually watch sports unless there's something really big going on. So maybe just read the headlines in the sports. So now you've got it down to maybe 30 pages. My grandmother used to cut stuff out of the newspaper. Oh my goodness. She filed them. She had all these articles. She loved learning, and she would circle stuff in them and read. And when we went through her stuff, there were so many newspaper articles, and I hated throwing them away, but we didn't know what to do with them. They were interesting to her. They were interesting, but like nobody else was going to want them. And she would find articles on books that she had. So, like, she had a book on Buckingham Palace, and she found an article on Buckingham Palace. She would cut it out and circle it in red, and she'd store it in the book. So, maybe you've got magazines on the table. I get so many magazines for my work. Oh my goodness. I stopped paying for them. Like, I don't have time to read them. And it gets to a point where there's just a pile there, and like, I just toss them all. And it's like, I'm not reading them. Okay. Next. There's going to be another one coming tomorrow. Next. So, but that ability to let go, that ability to make that decision of, okay, this mess is overwhelming me, versus, oh my God, I got to read this newspaper. It's 3 weeks old. It doesn't matter anymore. The main headlines are old news. Any sports info is old news. Unless there is an article that particularly appeals to you. Maybe you're in the newspaper. Okay, that's a different story. And some people, they love to be so organized. You got to have everything in a box, everything with a label on it, everything, color coded. Takes a lot of time. And that can be overwhelming. That box of wrapping paper. And instead of it being one box of all the wrapping paper, maybe you've turned it into 3 boxes. One is tissue paper. One is all solid wrapping paper. One is all pattern wrapping paper. Maybe you've got a box of holiday wrapping paper versus a box of birthday wrapping paper. Years ago at the Pasadena Showcase House, they did something really cool. There was a wrapping room. There was a gift wrapping room. It was a tiny room. And, it was basically a big closet. I was like, what do you do with it? And so they turned it into a gift wrapping room. And they had all the wrapping paper on spindles. That's the right word. I said spools. That's not the right word. Spindles. And so you open this cupboard, and must have had 10 different wrapping papers, and one was birthday and one was Christmas, and then they had a bunch of other different ones for all different kinds of occasions. And then there was a thing for different ribbons underneath that you could just pull the ribbon and wrap it, and there was a big knife for cutting, and it wasn't a knife, it was what's it called? Paper cutter. Anyway, and everybody thought, oh, wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. Because, where did you end up doing it otherwise, right? You ended up on the kitchen table. You may already have a lot of other stuff on it. Or you end up doing it on the floor, maybe the coffee table. And to have a space. And there's also a cupboard where you could put those gifts. It's really nice to have, I like to do shopping for birthdays and Christmas early because the dates kind of sneak up on me. I don't forget the date, but like what day it is, like what's the actual date today? I know today's Friday, but the fact that it's the 21st may escape my brain. And if somebody's birthday is on the 21st, I might get halfway through the day, go, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday. Okay, well, I have the present. And I've always done Christmas shopping early because yeah. And I tend to, when I find something for somebody, it's like, yeah. And it's always nice to have extra gifts around because you never know when you got to go somewhere and you need to, I do a lot of networking. So a lot of networking groups, they don't do it so much these days because everybody's on Zoom. But it used to be that you would give away something as a prize if you spoke, or they just might have some kind of lottery ticket thing and they needed gifts for it, and it just gives you some publicity. So always good. Always good to have something that you can just grab and go, and you don't have to go shopping for it, or have extra presents in the house for maybe for the teacher, for extra, that surprise Christmas gift that you weren't expecting. Like, oh yes, I have something for you. Or you're just going out to dinner at a friend's house. People even do that anymore. Housewarming gifts or something like that. So to have a place to put all that stuff is really nice. This was a big house, obviously. Not everybody can have a room like that. But creating the right space for something that's so important. So this was really important to this client because they wanted it to be organized, and they wanted to be organized in a special way. So that was more important than storing a myriad of other things in there. So there's a lot of ways of creating space. One of the best ways is closets. So many people are just living with like one bar or ugly wire stuff. Ugh. And it just looks so flimsy and terrible. Don't like it. But having your closet done makes a world of difference. So my house was built in 1926. It's almost 100 years old. Is that cool? And when we got here, there was just a rod. It was a walk-in closet, which in a house that old is pretty amazing. So we think that room might have been something else, but it's really not big enough to do much anything else. Maybe you could put a crib in there. That would be it. I don't even know you could put a crib and a changing table. You might be able to put a crib and a changing table in there. That would definitely be it. No dresser. No. So it would always get messy. I would spend so much time. I would clean it, and then it would get messy again. I'd clean it again. It'd get messy again. And I started working for Closet World. And I said, we're going to do this. So I used my employee discount, and I got it. And I got to tell you, it made such a difference. Maybe like once every 5 years, I got to go in and do a little bit of cleaning. And really, at that point, it's just, okay, what clothes do I not wear anymore? But it doesn't get messy anymore. So having the right structure in place makes all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. So that's why you need organizers. That's why you need designers, because they're used to looking at things from a problem-solving place. And we're not attached. You got a picture on the wall, and we're like, you know what? It really sucks. I'm sorry. It doesn't go in here. What does go in here? Okay, let's see. What does go in here? And having somebody else take a look at your space with fresh eyes. They're not attached. And then you say, hey, you really haven't touched this in 20 years. Do you really need it? Is the memory that good? Wedding dresses are a big one. I cleaned out a house one time. They were getting ready to sell the house, and my job was to empty everything, get it painted, get it new carpeted, all that fun stuff. And I had to throw away. I didn't know. I never met these people. I knew their names, and I got to know them by going through their house. And there's a lot you can get to know somebody by going through their house. And I found her wedding dress, and I picked it up. It was satin, And the threads just fell apart. It was a beautiful dress, beautiful 1940s style dress. And it broke my heart. I had to throw it away. I didn't even know this lady, but throwing it away broke my heart. I was like, how can I do this? But the fabric was just gone. And there's a lot of places you can do things you can do with your wedding dress these days. I don't think that people are wearing their mother's wedding dresses so much these days. I don't know anybody that did. That was a long time ago. But you can, just a second, Mark, you can donate them to there's an organization that will take it and turn it into christening gowns for babies that don't make it. And you can donate them to thrift stores. I have a friend who just got married last year, and she got her dress in a thrift store, and it was the perfect dress. She wouldn't have been able to afford the dress otherwise. Hey, Mark.
Hey there. I'm glad you were talking about that. I do know a couple of people in my life that have carried on the tradition of their wedding dress that was
Yeah.
from a previous marriage. It might be more of a southern thing or all along those lines, but I do know some people that are wear the dress of a previous person, whether it was their parent or their grandparent. Not saying I know tons of them, but I do know some people that did that tradition and all along those lines. And yes, thrift stores are wonderful. I know that right around the corner from me, there used to be a store called Nearly New Shop, and it was actually the fundraiser, and I think they're still a fundraiser for the Duke University nurses and everything like that. But then there's another one that you'll love their title, and I think I mentioned them to you before, but there's a thrift store here called Everything But Granny's Panties and everything like that. So they definitely say they will sell everything but Granny's Panties, and they've been around for decades. And of course, there's Choice, Troca, and a number of other thrift stores. So I do believe in the power of thrift stores, and you can find some great deals in thrift stores, including suits and including other things. So I'm a big fan of the thrift lifestyle and everything like that. So yeah, I can definitely agree, and I do know some people in that space. And I did have a question for you based on design and health and everything like that, because I did see in your back, and we actually had one repaired, and it turned out that we thought that we had the right bulbs because it is a historical building where I sometimes work at, the Hayti Heritage Center and everything like that. But they turns out it's a short in the chandelier, so we're gonna have to have some other way of fixing the chandelier so we can get those lights repaired. But I saw a chandelier in your background and everything like that, so I'm just wondering if you could share the importance of chandeliers and lighting and how they can add a unique touch even to a person's personal house. Because as I was looking at your background, I'm going like, that's a really nice chandelier, even if it's a small chandelier and everything like that.
Lighting is such an important thing, and it's so overlooked.
Right.
Really, we need 3 layers of lighting. And most homes really only have one. But when you have a room that's really well lit, you can have different moods. Nowadays, you can tell Alexa, but you know, I want it to be romantic. I want it to be morning. You want it to, she'll change the shades. She'll fix the lighting dim. I want to have a party. I want to read. So you can have different settings for whatever you might want to do in that room. And there's different layers of focusing on artwork, focusing on a place to read, focusing on I mean, it's so cool going through a real lighting expert place, because I'm talking to a designer about how to light stuff. You can put lighting around the picture so that it glows from behind. You can have over a dining table, you can have overall lighting. You can have each person have individual lighting. You can have it be all dimmed and very romantic or really bright, things to highlight different pieces of furniture. There's so I I could go on and on about lighting. And it has so much personality. Now, that chandelier happened to be old. That the in the picture behind me, that came with a house. We did not change that. It's beautiful. Now, the bathroom that is there, that's actually the same house. That's all new construction for the same house. We wanted to honor the craftsman, and that is a new light. And so we wanted to keep with the feel of the space, and that's exactly what we did. So when you're working with an old house, you've got to honor the old house. I had a client once. They had been in a very modern house in Hawaii, and they moved to a Spanish style house here. And she wanted to go in and make everything white and these bright sari colors and super modern. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she had this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous chandelier in her house in the entryway. Beautiful iron. It was perfect for the house.
Right.
And it was a several $1,000 chandelier. And she's like, yeah, I want to take that down and put up something more modern. And I explained to her, I said, you do realize that's a $3,000 chandelier? She's like, I didn't. And I said, it really goes with the house.
Right.
And at least as long as I was working with them, she didn't change it. I talked her into keeping it. And they weren't planning on staying there a long time. They were planning only on staying there for like 5 years.
Right.
So she did paint all the molding white, and the molding was already painted anyway, so that was fine. And we ended up going with Pompeii colors. She wanted bright colors, and the house was not having it at all. So we ended up kind of finding a happy medium with Pompeii colors.
Cool.
And it came out really beautiful. I don't know what happened to it. I'm sure she's not living there anymore.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah. Is that a bird cage in the background too? I can't tell, but next to the chandelier.
It is 2-dimensional.
Okay.
It is wrought iron.
Okay.
But so no, yes and no. It's only 2-dimensional though. It is not. It doesn't extend this way. It's just as thin as the wire.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, it looked interesting too because it caught my eyes. I'm going like, maybe a bird lives in there.
Check out the fireplace. Look at that fireplace.
Oh, yeah.
I love this room. I love this house. So when I got this house, it had dark. I'm going to let you see this for a minute. It had dark wallpaper, and the clients were beach people. And they're like, Jeanette, we can't handle how dark it is in here. And I said, of course you can't. And so what can we do? Some idiot designer told them to paint all that woodwork white.
Oh, wow.
It would have destroyed the value of the house. I'm going to say that again for all you people who think white goes with everything and white makes everything look bigger and everything is better white. It would have destroyed this house. It would have destroyed the value of this house. This house was built in the 1880s. And thank God these people knew better.
Yeah.
And so what we did was we used color to brighten it up and literally brought some sunshine in. And you can kind of see in the back there, the entryway, we did this really beautiful red. Right. And we did that same color in the dining room along with this yellow color. And then we had this amazing green. And so you can kind of see the vestibule there. On the other side of it was an office. And we found this amazing green. Oh, it looks so stunning. See, people think that dark colors are bad, and they're really not. I just had a client this week, and we're painting her garage, which is her office. And I was showing her different colors to go with the wallpaper. She's going to be doing a lot of video. And so she's doing 3 different wallpapers so she can have different backdrops for things. And just sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the different backdrops. Oh, right. Paint. Okay, so she picked out this color, and I'm like, Yeah. I'm gonna get the color I wanted. I showed her the color I wanted to paint it, and she's like, "No, she picked a different color." And I said, "Well, I'll get the color she wants, but I'm gonna get the color I want too."
Yeah.
And I've worked with her for a long time, and we've done a lot of work together. So I got the color she wanted, and then I got the color I wanted.
Right.
I put them both on the wall, and she's like, "Oh my God, Jeanette, the color that you picked out is so beautiful. It makes me so happy." And the color that she picked out really just looked wimpy on the walls. It really didn't do anything.
Mhm.
And so people are afraid of color, but when you do color right, it makes such a difference. So this color is very happy orange color. And I tell you, when I walked in there, when the painter was done, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful and made all the difference in the world. And that's the same thing here. This paint color made all the difference in the world.
Well, that makes sense. I'm curious to see what my cousin's gonna do. I think it'll be next year, but he's buying, and I think he's already bought the family house. It was my grandmother's house and granddad's house. So they had the house in rural North Carolina, and I remember it had a fireplace. I had another cousin that lived in that house for a number of years, but they traveled around on the powwow circuit and everything like that. So they didn't really do a lot of upkeep. I mean, I think they have kids, and the kids weren't doing a lot of upkeep. But I know Jonathan. Jonathan is a former GBI officer, because I think he's retired now and everything like that, Georgia Bureau of Investigations. So I'm sure that he is got kind of that military mindset. So he's very orderly and everything like that. So I imagine he'll do a good job of keeping the house in order. But I am curious to see what he's going to do with the fireplace, because that's something that was drawing people, even when grandma and granddad were living, with the fireplace that was in the living room, which is also where the TV was. And I'm assuming that that fireplace is there and everything. Now, there was the not to get overly religious, there was the scary picture of Jesus that sometimes scared people, because it was one of those ones that it looks like he's
Was it
overlooking.
velvet?
No, one of those ones that's on the mantle that it looks like he's overlooking you no matter where you are in that part of the house and everything like that. I think you know the type that I'm talking about. It's usually a house that will have them on the mantle, and you can be just about anywhere in the eyesight, and it feels like you're being watched and everything like that. So, but I do remember that, and I don't know if that's still there, because I remember that was there, and there was also like a little trinket that was there as well. But I think I told you about that. There was a doghouse, and all of us cousins were the dogs, so we had our names and everything. I know my brother and a couple of other cousins lived in the doghouse. I don't think I went in the doghouse that often, but if you were bad, you would find yourself in the doghouse. It was in the representative doghouse, so not literally in the doghouse, but in this little piece of artwork that was there. And I think one of the aunts may have that doghouse, but I think some of the dogs are missing and everything like that. But I think they may have that doghouse. But I'd be curious to see what Jonathan keeps, and whether the the mantle Jesus is there, and what he does with the fireplace. Because I do remember that fireplace being something that we enjoyed being there, whether it was that one or Mom has a fireplace as well. So yeah, those fireplaces I'm a big fan of, and no matter whether it's a big house or a little house.
Well, if you need some help, you know where to call. And
Yep.
if you need some help working on your house, I'm more than happy to help you. I work virtually, I work in person. We can use some snail mail, but I would love to help make your house a home and get you organized and make it feel good for you. And while we're getting on stuff that feels good for you, you got to fill your body with stuff that feels good for you. So here we go. Let's get some Kendu Spice.
We'll get some Kendu Spice. And by the way, before we get to the Kendu Spice, as you can see on the website, thecolorwhisperer.com, if I remember correctly, and all along those lines. But do you see the telephone number there? If you're interested, definitely give Jeanette a call. She's a lovely lady, and she does a great job with helping people with their house and their interiors, and even just being spiritually connected and everything like that. I do think that she's an amazing lady. So give a call at 626-485-6354. You see the number right there on the website and all along those lines. So it doesn't matter. You can even be, because we have people that join our show from Bangladesh. We have people that join our show from Australia. So you don't have to be in California where Jeanette is, or in North Carolina where I am. You can be anywhere in the world, and Jeanette will help you get your house together. And on that note, we'll go to Kendu Spice. But I did want to give you that little bit of a commercial plug. So
Appreciate that.
get in touch with Jeanette.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.